Howdy folks, I'm engaging eggplants, exaggeratingly explaining egregious egg events.
I'm Amber.
And here are more egg events for us to explain. You know why? Because we're all about the eggs as eggplants. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for uninviting my parents to my wedding after they refused to pay for my dress? So I am a 28-year-old female and I'm getting married soon, and my fiance, a 30-year-old male, and I are so excited. We've been planning for months, and we've set a budget that we can afford without going into debt. My parents have always been a bit controlling when it comes to money, and I always knew that they would want to contribute to my wedding in some way. Well, they recently offered to pay for a portion of the wedding, but only if I wore a dress that they picked out. I thought that this was a bit much, but I love my parents, so I said maybe. But then they showed me the dress that they wanted me to wear, and it was one of those old-fashioned, frumpy monstrosities that looked like something straight out of the 1980s. I'm talking puffy sleeves, sequins, and about a mile of tulle. Seriously, nobody would be caught dead in it. I told them politely that I wanted to choose my own dress, something that represents me and my style. Well, my mom flipped out. She started saying things like, if you want to ruin your wedding with your own choices, go ahead. And we won't pay for anything if we don't like your dress. I couldn't believe it. It's my wedding. After a ton of back and forth drama, I decided to uninvite them from the wedding. I mean, I don't want to deal with people who don't support my choices. My fiance agrees and thinks that I made the right call. Now people are saying that I'm being unreasonable and that it's a family event. But if they can't respect my wishes about my dress, then why do I even want them there? So am I the jerk for uninviting my parents over a dress controversy? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I have a feeling that if OP's wedding dress isn't what they wanted and they were invited, that they were the type of people who would make the reception or ceremony about, like, you know, doing the whisper things like, can you believe OP's dress? I can't believe what terrible taste she has. She's ruining the wedding.
You know, I think that this is one of those situations where OP knows their parents best. And if they think that uninviting their parents is the right call because they might cause a disturbance at the wedding, then that's fine, right? And I can understand them getting fed up with their parents, but, the thing is, like, OP has to ask themselves, is this because of a dress? Or is this because of underlying behaviors that they have, right? Because if it's only about the dress, then maybe there's maybe there's less reasoning for uninviting them. But if it's because this is a systematic pattern of behavior where they never respect OP's choices and they, really make life hard for OP, then I can certainly understand more why they would want to uninvite them.
Well, and OP does say in the post that they are controlling.
Yeah.
So I get the vibe that this is a tip of the iceberg type of situation. But at the end of the day, like, she should be able to choose what she wears on her wedding day. Mm-hmm. And if they can't be quiet and support her, then they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Geesus Freak says, not the jerk, it's you and your husband's day. No other opinion should matter. If they want to help financially, great, but it doesn't mean that they get to have an opinion on it. And Efficient Fee 5116 says, well said. And Lazuli Rose says, not the jerk, first they won't pay if they don't like your dress, so what will it be next? Invite this person or no money. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't think that OP needs to take their money, right? I think taking their money is going to be very problematic. I just meant, like, if they're the only reason why they're not inviting them is because of the whole dress thing, then, you only get one wedding, you only get to have a group of family gathered like this big event, like, maybe a few times, So, I mean, I just don't want OP to end up in a situation where they're doing this kind of, out of a lot of frustration, but then might end up regretting it later.
Well, it's one of those situations where, like, if their parents show up and cause a big stir, then they'll regret inviting them. There may be no winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, certainly there may be no winning here. And that's why I said that OP knows their parents the best, and so they're the best person who can make this call. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she made fun of my fiance's job? So I'm a 28-year-old female, and my fiance, Alex, a 30-year-old male, and I are getting married in a few months. We've been together for 5 years, and he's the love of my life. Alex is a talented artist who works as a freelance illustrator. He doesn't make a ton of money, but he's passionate about the work that he does, and I support him fully. My sister Emily, a 32-year-old female, has always had a more traditional outlook on careers. She works in finance and has been quite successful. Over the years, she's made several snide comments about Alex's job, calling it a hobby and implying that he's not ambitious enough. I usually let it slide because I know how she is, but it hurts both of us. A few weeks ago, during family dinner, Emily made a particularly harsh comment. She said, "I can't believe you're marrying a starving artist. Are you sure you want to spend the rest of your life supporting someone who can't even afford to buy you nice things?" Alex was visibly upset, and I was furious. I told Emily that her comments were out of line and that she needed to respect our relationship. She shrugged it off as a joke, but I didn't find it funny at all. After that, I started to reconsider inviting Emily to our wedding. I don't want any negativity on our special day, and I know that she'll probably say something rude or judgmental, so I decided not to invite her. When Emily found out, she was livid and accused me of overreacting and said that I was choosing a man over my own sister. My parents are upset too and think that I'm being too harsh, but they don't understand how hurtful her words have been. Now I'm wondering if I went too far. Am I the jerk for not inviting my sister to my wedding because of her comments about my fiance's job? Alright, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, this is a clear, consistent pattern of behavior for her. And the only people who should be concerned about your finances are you and your partner.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it's not their business. And so, I mean, she's repeatedly disrespected your partner. She's not going to be there to celebrate you two as a couple. So why would she even want to be at the wedding?
So I would say that her opinion on their finances could be important if she was contributing significant money to their household, right? And saying, loaning the money and stuff like that. But I still don't think that her comments about his job are warranted. I think they're out of line, right?
Well, and I'm making the assumption that, like most people, she's not contributing anything to their finances.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, if she wants to talk about OP's husband's job, then she needs to start maybe contributing to the household finances. Then she can talk all she wants about the job. I don't know. I don't even think that's true. I was just kind of being silly there. I think that OP is making a good call here. I think that the sister is going to probably cause a disturbance at the wedding. Now, the only thing I can really fault OP for is maybe not saying something sooner or not sticking up for the husband more often.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I think the only place where OP has gone wrong here is, she should have really nipped this in the bud a long time ago. It's very clear that it's hurtful to him, and you need to have your partner's back. These are not jokes. They are targeted attacks on him.
Yeah. So I think that that's really the only place I fault them, because I think the sister was kind of given, tacit permission to continue to make these jokes. And so she did. She can jokes, right? And make these comments. And I think that she has been doing this for a long time, and that OP should have said, hey, don't say these kinds of things about my husband. He's not a starving artist. He's passionate about his work. Just because he doesn't share your same views doesn't mean you get to deride him for it. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Jameson945 says, not the jerk. And I absolutely agree, she will find a way to ruin your big day. If you addressed this issue with her previously, that should have been the end of it, and she should have apologized to all present for her rude comment. I'm also bothered that your family has never called her out for these comments. Instead, they defend them. I almost think that you should disinvite them as well. Tell sis that you only get married once, and you're not going to risk her acting out. And even seeing her would sour your mood. And a conversation, done and dusted. And Sandy375 says, I'm also bothered by your family that they never have called her out on these comments. This was my issue too. Does she have something against Alex other than the whole job thing? That they aren't sharing? Sounds like she's jealous that OP is getting married. What a spiteful way to treat a sibling. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my future in-laws that my decision to change my name is none of their business and to quit the insensitive comments? I'm a 22-year-old female and I will be getting married next year. I'm taking my fiance's last name, and with changing my last name, I will also be petitioning the courts to change my first name. This has been a long time coming, My name doesn't hold anything positive for me, and I've been going by my almost name since I was 12. So it made sense to make the change official. I was abandoned as a baby and I grew up in foster care, and nobody knows if I had a name before. But I was given the name Charlotte by someone involved in my early case on, and that was the name that was put on my birth certificate. It never held any great meaning for me. Since I was never adopted, I never got named by loving parents either, and the name always just felt wrong, weird, and tied to nothing important. When I met my best friend, she told me that I looked like a Kenzie, and I've been Kinsey ever since. My fiance thinks that it's great that I'm making the change, but his parents are opinionated on this. They asked me before why I would rather be something klutzy like Kenzie instead of mature and pretty like Charlotte, and they told me how complicated it would be to change all of my documents to reflect my new name. They told me that Charlotte sounds more like a professional woman, the wife of a mother, than Kenzie. I showed them that even my work ID has Kenzie on it already because we can use preferred names at my job, but they don't want to hear it. When they found out that I had got advice on it, that it would be possible to change both names at the same time and obtain the forms, they questioned my motives more and more. They told me that Charlotte was lovely and it was their second choice for a girl. My fiance told them repeatedly that it's not their decision to make and that it's my name ultimately. He also reminded them that everyone calls me Kenzie already. But it wasn't the end, and they brought up how names are a gift of love from a parent to a child. It's a blessing to be named by parents, and they bring it up far too often on how much time and effort parents put into naming their kids. They know that I wasn't named by a parent, that I was abandoned and named by someone who basically never saw me again. My fiance told them these comments needed to stop, but last weekend, when some of my fiance's extended family were at his parents' house and we stopped by, they were talking about it again, and I might have snapped just a little bit. I told them that the decision to change my name is none of their business. Zip zero business of theirs. And to quit insensitive comments about parents naming people because I was named by a random person who was part of my original abandonment case. They told me that I didn't need to be so rude in their own home and that I was acting like they couldn't talk about naming children without aiming it at me. My fiance told them that they knew what they were doing and I wasn't being rude, I was being honest. But they said that I disrespected them in their own home. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Your name is your business, not theirs, and they are being deeply insensitive. I mean, even if you had a parent who named you, a gift is not something you have to keep. It may be given with love or care, but if it's not right for you, it's not right for you. But to then throw it in OP's face, like, oh yeah, we know don't have a parent and you were just named by a random person, but, names from parents mean so much. Like, that's just, that's just so cruel.
Well, OP was given a name from a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, OP was given the name Kenzie from a friend
Mm-hmm.
who took some time and effort to actually give her a name that she appreciated. And I think that OP saw that as more of a meaning than the name that she got from a random person who she never saw again. Like Kenzie, and she saw the name, the friend, saw something in her and was like, you're a Kenzie, and she has these positive memories with this friend and this relationship and all those things, and it probably feels a lot more meaningful and poignant than just some random name that she was given.
Right, and a name associated with a lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting to pick your own name after you've had really bad associations with a previous name and been through a lot of trauma can be a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And it seems like the parents might be a little bit hurt that OP doesn't like this because that was their second choice name for a girl.
Yeah.
But, they just have to get over it. Not everyone is going to love the names that you love. And
Mm-hmm.
if someone, carries baggage with a name and, you shouldn't like try forcing them into owning that name.
Well, I think this is a really important point, right? They're taking OP's dislike of Charlotte very personally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they like the name Charlotte, and that's great. I'm glad they like the name Charlotte. But OP doesn't like it and it has very different connotations for them. And I can understand why they would feel a little bit hurt at the fact that, OP doesn't like this name, but they can't take it personally. This isn't personal. It's about OP and not about them.
Right. And I mean, it seems almost like they're trying to name OP now, but again, that's not their business. It's
Hmm.
OP's choice what her name is.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. And LJ Nosy Writer says, they talk about name changes on all of your official paperwork being difficult, but I'm guessing they have no problem with the hassle when it comes to you taking their son's last name. And OP replies, nope, not a thing was said about that part. I mean, that's just as challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like if you're going to change your first name, last name, then changing your first name at the same time is probably going to be the best way to go about that, right?
Right. So you don't have to do the whole process 2 times over.
And Hollywood and Did says, not the jerk, this isn't their decision and have zero impact on them, especially since they've always known you as Kinsey. So it's not like they would need to learn to call you something new. The only person the decision impacts is you, therefore yours is the only opinion that really matters in the subject. I would also like to point out that you are in fact named by someone who loves and cares about you. Sounds like you have an amazing best friend. And OP replies, I do. She was the first person to care and love me, and I'm so glad that I have her in my life. And yeah, once my name is changed legally, I was finally named by someone who did love me. And that's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
All right, we're moving into it's going to be a rotten vacation when.
All right.
It's going to be a rotten vacation when your mom didn't forget just your toothbrush this year. She forgot your whole suitcase.
And your name is Macaulay Culkin, and you've been left at home alone. And I have licorice spice. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday, folks, and you know what makes it special? You do, and Amber does too.
And Brian does too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on keeping your rotten opinions to yourself.
If you don't have something nice or helpful to say, then maybe don't say it. There are times when you have to say things that aren't necessarily nice, but your goal shouldn't be to be mean.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!